Welcome to this week's Expansive podcast. Always great to have you with us. And bonjour from Chamonix and the Alps. I'm here in France working with a client, and always great to be checking in into the pod with Eric. I actually messaged you earlier this week. I'm like, Eric, what the hell, bro? I haven't spoken to you for so long. So great to be on here with you again. What's happening there, Eric? You good?
Yeah, all good, dude. Going through a bit of a heat wave, but apart from that, life is good. Looking forward to the pod. It does feel like we speak all the time, and then you get to these like patches where it feels like when I haven't heard from John in 24 hours, like what's happening in my world. And so I'm very happy to be connected with you. Yeah, it falls apart.
Yes.
So
are you still
thank
crying
you for
yourself
bringing
to sleep
stability back to me today?
Or has that changed? Okay, pleasure.
That's changed. I have the pup now, so the pup has kind of replaced that.
Oh, of course, at last.
I cuddle him at night, and I'm like, he's become the replacement.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear you got your, and that's a real, what do they call it? The dog that takes you on a plane. It's what?
You can only dog.
A service dog, but it's not a service dog. It's a emotional
support.
He's emotional.
He's definitely
support. Emotional support.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All dogs
My mom
are
is
emotional
the emotional.
Dogs.
That is true. Yeah. That is true. Obviously. So today we're going to go straight into the pod, and we're going to talk about some incredible things that are happening out there. And the biggest news that everywhere is and everything's talking about is the TikTok ban, and how America has come together to make this ban happen immediately, where they can't actually agree on anything, and now they're agreeing on some social media platform, which is also kind of weird because they've come together so quickly. What are your thoughts on this, and why do you think it's happening, and what's happened?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, it's been kind of in the background for a long time, and then all of a sudden now you have this big majority vote for one of two things to happen: is that either the app is banned or they have to divest it to the US.
Yeah.
So it's the US actually just wants to own TikTok. It's pretty interesting, and I think there are many conspiracy theories that are currently popping up around it. Just the same as like Kate Middleton. Have you seen all the Kate Middleton conspiracy theories?
Yeah, so many.
It's been
People,
pretty wild.
It's a distraction for something.
Yeah. So it's been pretty interesting. I mean, I think I understand where a lot of it's coming from. And obviously, like most of it is linked to the idea of privacy and what is happening with the data of users, and the US feeling very out of control regarding what is happening to the data of people in the US. And we know there's obviously a big thing between US and China. I've been thinking about it more from the lens of what's happening to creators and what's happening to people on the platform, and what would a ban mean for the people on the platform. But before we talk about that, what are your thoughts and what are your insights regarding why it's happening?
Wow. So, I mean, look, I follow this guy, and I can't remember what his name is now, but he's an exceptional researcher, and he just dives deep into the behind the scenes. And when I first started watching him, he would take aisles in a grocery store, and he would black out or color code, just let's say the toiletry section. He'll color code the companies that own all the toiletries, and 95% of those toiletries were owned by two companies. And then you'd go to the Kellogg's, the what do you call it? The cereal aisle, and then you'd color code all the cereals owned by the same companies. Two companies owned all the cereals. Then he did this by aisle, and his whole point was something's going on here where the big companies are just sucking up all the money out of the middle class and into their pockets. And then he goes through different companies where they do share buybacks. And anyway, it's a very interesting research piece. And then he started seeing this TikTok ban coming, and America talking about the fact that it's a China challenge. Now, I was at NASA recently, and at NASA, you're not allowed to go anywhere near NASA if you're Chinese because of the espionage that happens between those two countries. Either way, this guy started researching this buyout and this sort of banning of TikTok, and he made a video that had hashtag Tiananmen Square, hashtag China Uprising, hashtag he dissed China throughout this video and waited for it to get banned. It didn't get banned. Then he made a video about the CIA and Mossad, the Israeli intelligence, and how they are behind this banning because of the sentiment around the world is growing towards Palestine and not Israel. And he had a recording of a big funder of the lobbyists of the government that represented APAC. And APAC is this, it's an Israeli, it stands for the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. It's a lobbying group that makes sure the government is lobbied to back Israel's interests. And he had a lecture from him talking about the fact, and he said this like 4 times. He said, we have a very, 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 very big problem because the sentiment around the world is older people are defending Israel and 90% of the younger people are defending Palestine. And so what he did was this guy made a video about this and it got banned. And he said, look, who's banning this is the people that are losing power of how the Americans are thinking about propaganda. And so then he started tracking all the senators that had brought this bill forward and had made this ban happen. And every single one of them has huge lobbying dollars behind them through APAC. So I actually think this is a cover up. China is not actually the issue. The issue is they've lost control of the propaganda machine on the youth of America. And these youth are now uprising. And then he showed a chart of the number of posts that are pro-Palestine and the number of posts that are pro-Israel. And it is like 98% pro-Palestine, 2% pro-Israel. And so the buyout seems to be a cover-up of sorts to stop the masses having access to this type of information. So I think we're being duped by the whole thing, and they're calling it a China issue, but it's actually an APAC issue. And then also think about America vetoing this, where everybody in the world wanted a ceasefire except Israel and America came and vetoed it. And then you take one step further and you start to see that BRICS just last week sanctioned America and Israel. They are now sanctioning America and Israel because they're like sick and tired of the bully in the playing field. But then who's funding the bully in the playing field also has to be something that we're looking at. Now, I'm not pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. To be honest with you, that issue is deep. It's deep, deep, deep. I have a lot of great Jewish friends and I have a lot of great Muslim friends. And I love both of them. What's going on there is a war machine. I don't even think it's ideological anymore. I think it's just a war machine. And you go deeper and you see how Putin wanted to join NATO, and they said to him, no, you can't join NATO. And you look at all the places where they want peace treaties and America doesn't want a peace treaty. And what America wants to do, there's a war machine at play here that wants to keep pumping the world full of war, full of machinery. And they actually found some missiles shot from Russia into Ukraine and that American tech parts inside them. So America is feeding both sides of all wars, making more and more money, holding more and more power, creating more and more chaos. So I think what's happened with TikTok is they've lost control of the propaganda machine.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And it feels like, this is one of the challenges, and I think why people have lost trust in institutions is that everything feels like cloak and dagger. You never really know what the real thing is. So there's full lack of transparency. And then what you have is a tool like TikTok where people have been given voices. And I think, the way that TikTok is set up, even the way the algorithm works, I think that's why people have always flocked to it, is because irrespective of who you are and what you have to say, on TikTok, you have the ability or the possibility that you'll be heard. And of course, we've seen that the influence then as a result of that is disproportionate. And so I can completely understand that if you see a tool like that and you feel like what the majority or what is being pushed or what is being said doesn't quite go in your favor, you'll start looking for ways to either sway that or silence it or own it so you can control at least what is happening to some degree.
It's becoming more and more obvious to me the tonality of Western media outlets and how they just tone things when they think about and speak about Saudi, the Middle East, China, Russia. It's already a negative tone and it's just subtle. It's not something that's overt. And these subtleties make a difference in our perspective. And they make out Israel to be the one that's suffering and then downplay the Palestinian politicians when they come on. Now, again, I'm not on anybody's side because they do the same with China, they do the same with Russia. And they never speak about the American terrorism that's been happening the British terrorism that went in and subdivided countries at will, created mayhem in Pakistan and India. Well, don't worry about that. That's fine. But it's all these bad people that are doing things. So I think I'm also waking up to the fact that these propaganda machines that they've called news is really not news. It's propaganda to how you should think about the current affairs around the world, and also feel sorry for the story that's being told to us. And TikTok has broken the system. And I think it's awesome. And so is was Elon Musk, who was actually in an interview the other day, saying, I bought Twitter to bring freedom of speech to America because it's suffering from it. And the worst thing I want to ever do is to agree with Donald Trump. But God, when he said fake news, I don't think he was joking, dude. Like, yes, he's not a bit of an arsehole. He's an arsehole. I get that. But he was right. There's just one-sided barraging of information, and we've all bought into it. All of us.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's rubbish. I'm not with it.
Even a broken clock is right on time twice a day, right?
Yes, once a day, twice a day. That's right.
Yeah. So, I think what big lessons to learn from what we are seeing is, number one, is we have to just have a very questioning mindset about the content that we consume. And you have to have a questioning mindset for a few reasons. One is that you don't know what the narrative is that people are trying to tell you. And unfortunately, as much as we want to believe that people will have the best intentions at heart when reporting, when, sharing a story of what's happening, ultimately there are certain influences that influence them. And as a result, they have to frame things in a specific way that make certain people look good or bad. And so you have to question it purely because you don't know where the influence comes from. Another reason why you have to question it is because you also don't know what the algorithm is trying to do. And I think we've seen a lot of proof and examples as well, where the algorithm pushes specific things because it also wants to land a certain message. Or actually, I've been wanting us to do something about this from a content point of view, that when you look at content on TikTok and LinkedIn and whatever, you find that the content it's all the same. It's become this homogenous mess. And the reason is that there's a certain type of content that works on a platform that gets pushed to the masses. Everyone sees this. They see, oh, this kind of content works. Then they start doing it. Then that gets pushed to the masses. And over time, what you have is that everyone is creating the same kind of content, and it's all just mediocre. And so actually, I watched this thing a while ago about the decline of good content. And that is exactly it, because the algorithm pushes or favors something. We all think, oh, this is the thing to do. And then it just becomes it loses flavor. So that's the second reason to question, is because of the algorithm. And then the next thing that I wanted to say is that it's going to have a real impact for people who've built businesses on TikTok. Obviously, TikTok has been incredible. If this ban goes ahead, it's been incredible for people to be able to create a video. It goes viral. It changes lives. And we have countless examples of that as well. This Benson guy at the moment, you know him, right? These beautiful things that I do. You know that song?
Go on, say it again.
I'm not singing.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first song Erica sang at the Expansive. No, I have no idea who Ben is. Sorry.
Anyway, we'll just link it in the comments instead of me singing it again.
Okay.
But anyway.
Okay. And if you are watching this on video, you can see that Eric is bright red. If you're just listening to this, maybe you can feel the heat coming through your speakers because Eric is blushing. But carry on.
Well,
Eric.
head over to YouTube. We're trying to get more people to YouTube, so please go and watch this on YouTube.
That's true. Go and see and see Eric's blush.
I don't mind a bit of self-deprecation for numbers on the pod, So
while talking about the algorithm, let's do what we can do to build our slaves to those views. Yeah.
So anyway, so what I would say is he creates a song as usual on TikTok. Someone grabs a snippet. It goes viral. As a result, he has a booming career. And it all just came from this 20-second clip that someone has created from it, right? And so just one big lesson that I think we should take from this before we move on is that you should never build your house on rented property. And this has been true for many, many years, that if you solely focus all your business efforts on something like TikTok and it goes away, you're kind of screwed. Same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with Facebook. you should never have all your eggs in one basket when it comes to things like social media. So
Mm.
it's just business savvy to be diversified in terms of your distribution when it comes to online. And I
Mm.
thought that's just a good way for us maybe to end this.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea and great points. I was watching Mr. Beast yesterday. He's changed the format of his videos, and they were asking what happened. He says, I don't really watch people that try and beastify their videos, but I've just realized there's better ways to tell stories. And also, everybody's doing what I used to do. So I've kind of shifted it, and now he's got different starting points. And it's exactly to your
Yeah.
point, is because he's
Mm.
doing so well, other people are copying him to have the same sort of feel. So you're right. The algorithm isn't really brought about more creativity, it's brought about more copycats. And so, yes, we have to think about new algorithms. And
Mm.
I imagine with AI, I would love to think about algorithms in new ways, because you also get bored of the same suggestions, right? You have got continuously same
Mm.
suggestions of information. I'd love to have like sort of different types of, but yeah, I guess that will happen. I guess that'll become a option for
I've
us on
seen.
YouTube. Yeah,
Well,
there's been
I've
some
actually not.
stuff.
There's been, yeah, YouTube has recently been doing a thing where
Blue,
they say
red.
this is outside
Yeah,
of your, yes, yeah,
that's
yeah,
right. That's
which
right.
is
That's
great
right. Yeah. But still,
because like
I went
it,
there, but it was,
it's kind
yeah.
of still
Anyway,
the
we'll
same
get there.
vibe. Yes, yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It is. Yeah.
Cool. What's next?
Okay, that's good. I like that. What's next is the move from LLM to LAM. And I think this is something radical that we all need to keep an eye on. And most people have never even heard of LLM. I mean, everybody's heard of LLM now, but most people haven't heard of LAM. And over the last year, we have all been mesmerized by large language models. And we all like, wow, this large language model does this one does this. You have Elon Musk's one, you have OpenAI one, you have Pi, you have so many of them that are coming. And organizations are actually building their own large language models right now
Mm.
so they can own that level of IP. But what we're going to see over the next year, this year, over the following months, is the beginning of the intimacy economy. And the intimacy economy is when you and your AI assistant on your phone become best friends. And we know this because what's going to happen with iOS 18 is that Siri is going to arrive as an LAM. And an LAM is a large action model, not a large language model. And what a large action model will do is take actionable instructions from you. Where remember with Siri, not with Siri, sorry, with OpenAI, with ChatGPT, you spoke to it, it gave you, it was your thinking partner, your essay builder, your emailer. Those are all language-based instructions and ideas.
Mm.
This is an action-based system. And what this will start to do, and we saw the beginnings of this with R1 Rabbit, that orange thing that launched a few months ago. What this was doing, and the guy was showing us the example, is please find the 3 top Italian restaurants around me and book the one that has got a seat available at 8:45 for 6 of us. And it will go ahead and do that. And just think about the repercussions of travel, finding you the cheapest travel, finding you all the things that you requested to do initially. It starts to learn your behavior and then starts making suggestions to you. And
Mm.
what's also going to happen, the new AirPods are coming out with cameras. So what's going to start happening is going to have sensors and cameras on the AirPods to be seeing a 360 view of where you are, so it can suggest more things to you. So when your phones are in your pocket, your camera and your AirPods are on, watching, seeing, and making suggestions. This is the beginning of the intimacy economy that's here now starting. And you might say to yourself, this is terrible. I don't want AI telling me what to do and making suggestions. My question always to you is, do you use Google Maps? And the answer is
Mm.
yes, you do. And well, it's already telling you what to do. This will just be a more enhanced version, because Siri will say, Eric, I know you like to play paddle, and there's a paddle special. You can buy one racket, get one free just down the road. And something you knew nothing about. And now all of a sudden you have this very intimate
Mm.
relationship. And it could say, look, Siri, tell me when there's flight specials from here to Australia in the month of, I don't know, month of May, and find me 3 hotels. I mean, just think about that. Also, order this
Mm.
food for me, make this booking for me, connect me with Eric and 4 other people. I mean, just think about the action. So it's going to
Mm.
take all your apps on your phone, connect all of them, and then action them, get to know you, become friends with you, then make suggestions to you. Welcome to your future.
Dude, I get so excited when we talk about these things because this is exactly where I've always wanted to live. This is,
Yeah.
when you grow up and you see sci-fi and like the flying cars and
Yeah.
whatever, like it paints this picture of a really exciting place to live where everything,
Yeah.
Java's from Iron Man, all those things come to
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And then we
Yes.
haven't had it for so long. It's kind of just been the
Yeah.
internet, And now with this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, geez, it excites me endlessly. I
But
love
what's
that.
so
I didn't
funny,
know.
Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. Go on.
I was just going
You
to
didn't
say
know?
the iPods, the cameras on the iPods. I didn't know about
Yeah.
that. So that's going to be really cool. What I do think is that I think Apple's going to have a hard time competing against what's already out there. Like obviously they have their ecosystem, and that's their advantage, is they have people locked in. But I mean, all of this stuff is going to be available on Gemini and on OpenAI as well. OpenAI already has all their plugins. They already have OpenTable, for
Look,
example, as a
never,
plugin.
never underestimate Apple. They
Never
always rock up
underestimate
and then
Apple.
they do
Yeah, for
something that's
sure.
don't underestimate Apple. There's
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
they've bought more AI startups than anybody else. They've spent more billions. So you're right, but we also don't realize there's paradigms upon paradigms. And I think they're going to bring something to us that, I don't know. I just, look, obviously I'm an Apple fan.
They've been very quiet in this space.
Very
And
quiet. They didn't mention AI once in their last presentation.
so I saw a headline the other day, and I wasn't sure if it was fake news or not. So I just quickly Googled it, and it wasn't fake news. So on Bloomberg, Apple is in talks to let Google Gemini power iPhone AI features.
Oh, wow. Very good.
Yeah,
Wow. That's good.
because
That's smart. That's smart. Yeah.
yeah, and I think this is
Wow.
because I saw something like that. I wasn't sure it was just someone trying to make things up.
But just
But
think about where LAMs are taking us. Okay, go. You can
yeah,
go and then I'll
no,
take.
amazing. No, I was going to say I'm very impressed with the collaborative approach that Apple is
Yes.
taking here, because Apple is not a collaborative company. They
Well, look,
like
when it
having
came
their
to
things.
Google, yeah, but when it came to Google, they partnered with Google. You know what I mean? Google
Mm,
pays them a couple $1 billion a year to be their main search engine. And so I
are
think
they
this is just an
still?
extension of their search engine. Yeah, Google still.
Are
It's
they
not
still?
Bing.
Okay,
It's definitely
okay.
not Bing.
Oh, but
It's
I
still
thought
Google.
Safari. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes
No,
sense.
Safari search engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's yeah. But look, where
Okay.
LAMs are going and what they're going to be doing for us is creating ambient intelligence all around us. So think about
Mm,
spatial vision, earphones that see, watches that are your screen, and fingers that become your instruction. So you're going to wear
yeah.
glasses, the cameras on your glasses, cameras on your earphones, watch for a screen if you need to see anything, and then heads up inside your glasses to see different things. Phone, cheers. You don't need a phone.
Mm,
The phone is actually
mm,
going to become something like a brick that you used to carry around and laugh at the fact that you used to.
yeah.
So yeah, LAMs are this
Amazing.
instructional friend
Like it.
you're going to
Like it.
have with ambient intelligence around you.
Mm,
What's next?
really like that. Cool. So, you know, a company that's been making lots of headlines recently, and not for the best of reasons, is Boeing.
Boeing. Can I tell you something, bro? I've been reading about this on a plane. Talk about living inside a flippin' nightmare. And then somebody put on Instagram the other day the best meme I've ever seen. When one door closes, another one opens. Boeing's new payoff line. I mean, that is the most best classic payoff line in the world. But yeah, Boeing seems to be in shambles, in
In
serious shambles.
shambles. Listen, so I watched
Yeah,
this kind of big video about Boeing last night, and obviously, like, the reason they are in shambles is because they have had terrible, terrible leadership over the past few years.
terrible.
But to
Yes,
quickly kind of cast back, so there are two big players in the aerospace: Airbus and Boeing, and those are really the only two when it comes to commercial airlines. And in 1997, so pre-1997, Boeing was this like the poster child for meticulous craftsmanship. Like you
they
looked
were
at
led
Boeing and
by
like it was just
engineers, not by accountants. They were led
yeah,
by
and they
engineers and quality over accountants. Yeah,
that's it. Like everything they did was just perfection, and they were known
yeah.
for that. And then in 1997, they merged with another company called McDonald. Was it McDonald? I can't read my own writing
Aerospace
now.
or something. No, there was they used to make defense equipment for America,
Yes,
but
yeah.
yes, but they were ruthless and very financially focused.
McDonnell Douglas. That's it. McDonnell Douglas. So they merged. The
That's
two
it.
of them merged, and in this video I watched last night, the Economist had
Camels,
when they
the
Did you see
camels.
that? Oh, did you watch the John Oliver thing?
You watch John Oliver. You watch John Oliver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
John
love John
Oliver did
Oliver
the
stuff.
camels, one camel
Yeah,
humping another. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
question was
That's right.
which is which? Is McDonnell Douglas on top or is
Yes,
Boeing on top? Anyway,
yes,
so what
yes,
happens
yes.
is over the next few years, they become more and more profit focused, more revenue focused, more focused on share buybacks, and really all
Yeah,
they care about is the shareholder. And so what happens as a result is quality starts slipping, and you see them rushing out planes. And of course, that's never a good thing when you're rushing out a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment, and also something that's going to put people's lives at risk. And so, long story short, you've had planes crashing, you've had doors coming off of planes mid-air, which is what you were referring to. And what really struck me was when I was listening to them interviewing employees at Boeing, is that everyone said the same thing, is that they were scared to speak up about what was happening. And the funniest part of this video was that at some point, a guy goes around and he interviews people at Boeing, and he's like, would
yeah,
you fly on this plane? And they're like, no, not if you paid me. Would you fly on this
yeah,
plane? No, I wouldn't.
yeah,
No. And then the only guy who was like, yes, he would, he said, yes, I'd fly on this plane if I had a death wish. And so
yeah.
what really just
Wow.
stood out for me is what can happen when leadership creates an environment of fear. And we've spoken about the idea of psychological safety before. It's something that even almost every conversation I have around leadership and team development, psychological safety rears its head. And I think a big part of it is that intuitively we understand that people want to belong, but we're quite bad at helping people to belong. And the moment we start focusing on squeezing people for all they are worth and rushing the work that we are supposed to do and focusing purely on profit over people, the moment we do that, psychological safety just leaves. And the moment it leaves, people don't speak up for what they need to speak up for. And the moment that happens, mistakes happen, accidents happen, and we don't get to fix those things. And so the whole Boeing story was just such a good reminder that it all starts with the environment we create for people to operate in. And that environment, at a baseline, at a foundation, must be rooted in psychological safety. And just as a quick reminder, psychological safety isn't about mental well-being and mental health. Psychological safety is purely about the belonging. So that when I speak up, when I raise ideas or raise concerns or admit mistakes, that I don't have to fear I'm going to be kicked out of the group. One way I've actually been thinking about it is that, when you start dating someone, like, in the early days, like you're kind of dating and you think, if anything goes wrong, they're going to break up with me. That is not psychological safety. Psychological safety is when you're a few months into the relationship and you can speak about something that you don't like or that's not working. And the first thought isn't, oh, this might lead to a breakup. Your first thought is, oh, we'll work through this. I think once you've made that shift, you've shifted into psychological safety. And I think the same thing is
Such a
true for
great example.
organizations as well.
Love that. Such a great example. I've never thought about it in those terms. I realize that I've never had psychological safety in a relationship, hence why I'm single. Woo! Okay, that's brilliant. Wow, I like that. But you know what happened is that guy that was a whistleblower got killed.
And
Literally got taken out.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
The guy got killed. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Sure.
Ridiculous. Wow. So, I mean, what a shambles. But guess what? Best time to buy their shares because they've halved. Best time. Because, look, they're not going anywhere. They're going to clean up. They're going to fix themselves. They got, you know what the biggest problem is their supply chain. They can't build quick enough because their supply chain is in such shambles. So they've got to create a new supply chain. They've got orders stacked up for years. The moat to get into that business is so large and so
Yeah,
big.
for
I
sure.
just don't think anybody can jump in. So I think over the next 3 years, they're going to fix up everything and they're going to get a new CEO, maybe a new structure, and just start fixing things. So if you are buying shares, and this is no any financial advice, as you're supposed to say, but either way, I'm not a finance guy, but I think it's a great time to buy their shares. In fact, I'm going to buy
Yeah.
some because I think in the long run, they're going to turn around. But for the moment, they've stuffed it up. Totally.
Yeah, and I think the leadership is on the way out. I think I did see a report about that. And what's also
Yeah.
interesting is that big sites like Kayak is now allowing you, so travel sites,
Yes.
they're allowing you to
Yes.
choose which planes. You might want to tell
Planes.
Shams that next time she books you a flight somewhere to book Airbus
She
and not
doesn't.
Boeing.
Gloria does, but I will. I
Okay.
can't. I mean, I was looking at that and I was thinking it's impossible almost because my timings. I don't have the luxury of timings. But yes, it's a great.
Just
It's a great
stay away
point.
from the 737 Max, and then you're
Yes.
okay. And if a
Yes, that's
door
correct.
does
That's correct.
fly off while you are mid-flight, I don't know what to tell you. Good
Look,
luck.
I don't know. I'll say cheers. I'll say cheers now. It's been wonderful. I've had a fantastic time. What a better
Maybe
way
we
to
should
go,
just,
bro. 30,000 feet in business. That's
dude. I
wonderful.
think we should just we should batch record a bunch of podcasts every time before you get onto a
In case
flight,
I
just in
die.
case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you got the priorities right, that the podcast is very important before I die. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
All right. Let's do one more. What else do you have?
One more. What I forgot. What was the other thing? I did tell you. Did you write them down?
Um,
LLM to LAM, TikTok. I did make a video this week that's gone pretty well. It's gone pretty viral.
from what to how?
And from what to how. And I really think it's important for us to understand this concept is what to how means what you know and what is out there is changing dramatically. And it's not so much about the what. And I've had a few companies ask me to give them the top trends on investing or on energy or on fintech. And my response always is that's irrelevant because it's changing. Look at Sora. Sora arrived and Tyler Perry was building $1 billion movie studio and he canceled it. The day Sora arrived, he canceled his production company, his company to build that studio. And he's like, it's done. So, you know what is really about this? What are the latest trends? What is it that we need to be focused on? And that's changing at a rate. And being adaptable is really about how, not what. How do you engage with it? And really the video was a bit of an irritation because I see all these speakers on LinkedIn doing the same old thing, telling you that you should be a leader that is like this and like that, but nobody's telling you how. And so I was just a little bit frustrated by that. So I made the video and it's been really well received. And it's really all about the how and being adaptable. And we've done many episodes on how to be adaptable, how to think about your thinking, to focus on neuroscience, all these sort of things. And really the biggest message that I can give people is as these technologies come to arrive and shift our reality, as we go from LLM to LAM, we've really got to start asking our questions of how do we add value in brand new ways? How do I engage with LAM? And how do I make it work for me rather than it becoming something scary that's taking something away from me? And so, you know, this becomes incredibly important that you stay curious about uncertainty. And that's a very hard thing when you're stressed and focused on the past. And so what must be replaced with how, and don't keep asking people to tell you what the trends are. Those are changing too often. Always ask yourself, how many of these am I adopting? How many of them am I adapting to? And how much am I going to be able to make a value contribution to society utilizing them? That was my
Love
rant.
that. Yeah, no, I love that. You know, it comes back to what we've said so many times on the pod is that when you are concerned with the what, it really means that you're concerned with your certainty. And you want
Yeah.
people to tell you, this is what the future is going to look like. And you feel like the moment you know what the future is going to look like, then it's less scary and maybe you'll be able to prepare for it in some way. But the reality is that the future is actually a very poor motivator of behavior, if you ask me.
Right. Yeah.
I don't, and so often when whether it's a keynote, maybe that's why keynote speakers often default to it. It's like you almost want to scare people about the future, like this is what's going to look like, doom and gloom, like you're going to be replaced by AI, whatever, and then give people the tool to change and to not become irrelevant. But I find that like it's such a poor motivator. Like all you're doing is scaring people into reactivity and anxiety. All you're trying to do is give them certainty that doesn't exist because, like you said, it's going to change. And so
Well,
the better approach is just to think about your approach. Don't think about the end point. Just think about your approach
yeah.
to change
Yeah.
and change with change, and you'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's happened is that the speakers that are doing that old story are stuck in old ways of thinking and are defending those old ways of thinking because they haven't done the research to figure out what's next. And I've had a bit of a bit back with one or two of them online, and they're defending their old way. And I'm like, the whole point is that there must be a paradigm shift, not doing leadership like it used to be done, but actually rethinking the whole thing. And so this is very scary because, they've built careers out of this old ideology, and this old ideology are exactly that. They're old. And so, we've got to be thinking about things in brand new ways. And this is it's not easy.
It's not.
You got to be seeking
It's not.
discomfort at all levels. Yeah. At all levels in
Yeah.
your personal capacity, So yeah, it's both exciting and
Dude.
terrifying at the same time. I don't think anybody's getting away from that.
That's it. That's a great way of describing it. Listen, I think
Great.
that's the pod.
Well,
Yeah, take
yes,
us out.
that's the pod. Thanks for joining us. Great to always have you on this journey with us. We say this every time, but we have a lot of plans behind the scenes. We always do. There's always things happening.
We always do.
So
yeah.
we always do.
News.
There's always back and forth. Yeah, it's not fake news. But hopefully these things start to kick in and we start, bringing on new people. But, the biggest problem also has been our schedules, like just to try and get schedules aligned with other guests. And oh my God. And, time zones. Some of our guests are in San Francisco and Costa Rica. And it just seems impossible, So we're doing our best. And thank you again for joining us. Please do share this podcast with somebody you think who needs to hear it. Eric and I are always available for keynotes and workshops. And if you ever need us, please do reach out. And we have a brand new website. So go and check it out. We've just had it redone, theexpansive.com. And until next week, ciao.